This session is delivering IT virtualization as a service. My name is Yuri Magalev, and we also have Bill Kosinets from Sussex County. He's the CIO of Sussex County, and we worked together for a long time, and we collaborated together, and he's here to talk about how he's accomplishing IT virtualization as a service in his county.
Great. Thank you, Larry. Well, one of the questions that I get a lot is, why did your organization need an enterprise IT shared service business model? Well, one of the reasons we decided to look at that is our towns and our local municipalities were facing rising costs on their support. Most of them went to smaller support shops that they can contain the cost on. And then they started asking questions, are we getting what we're paying for with the skill set? Is there any future direction we're going in with our computers? Because the towns really weren't getting that. So they asked us as county, hey, can you come on and see what type of business model you can create in order to support the towns and the municipalities? So what we came up with was a couple of different models. One was, hey, how can you handle remote sites? Well, I could people in a car, 45-minute drive, boots on the ground, technology. That's really not cost effective. That's really a tall order for the taxpayer to pay. So we decided, well, I think a private cloud initiative would actually be the best business model. So we got some funding from the New Jersey Department of State, and we did a study through the Government Education Services through NJIT, and we perfected this business model that I'm about to show you today. So one of the interesting, oops, sorry. One more. I'll use this better. So the county's development server and desktop virtualization has created a private cloud business model that can distribute technology service to the supporting community. What we've done is we've taken a pool of computer resources and dividing it up into independent networks and then distributing to the town, either through the private internet or public internet, depending on the bandwidth requirements that the town needed. It's a very cost-effective business model. As a prime objective, we tried, well, let's try sharing of resources, let's do reducing the cost, and then subsequently, we can have the towns offer their service to other towns, such as most towns do building codes. Counties aren't in charge of enforcements for codes. So the towns are. So now the towns can offer their service to other towns if they have a strong business model of that and have a good practice. And so a town that subscribes to that service would pay a fee, become part of the shared collaborative effort, and life would be good. So what we wind up doing is we're creating a vertical network with a wider diameter of services that will help Sussex County, its citizens, and the towns. Some of the advantages of virtualization that we've been able to achieve is data architecture and IT governance will create a delivery of a secure business model as well, because security is one of the big topics everyone talks about when it comes to virtualization. Some of the other challenges moving to a virtual environment is a human factor. Understandably so, because when you're changing a business practice or a technology, sometimes you're interpreted as a loss of control, incompetency, or maybe the business that I was doing now was perfect, fine. Why are you poking it? Why are you going to mess it up for? So one of the ways of gaining a trust relationship and kind of snuffing out the fear, uncertainty, and doubt, what you do is you create a virtual infrastructure as a test environment. It's like going to a restaurant. You go, you set the table, you show them the menu of services that are available, and see if they like it. And make sure your noodle's not half-baked, so you have a good business practice for them. So what winds up happening, if you love it, then love will cast out the fear, because fear has torment and failure. If you try to push it on somebody, you really shouldn't do that. Oops. So I wanted to, come on. This is not working. Oh, there we go. So some of the Blade Server advantages that we've come to is we've reduced our energy consumption by creating a smaller carbon footprint. We've consolidated power supplies. We're very high density, so the square footage of our data center doesn't need to expand year after year. And through hardware modularity with some of the new processors, communications, storage, interconnection technology, we've turned into a very efficient green data center. Some of the services that we offer here is a county municipal enterprise. So we're both stakeholders in this product. So some of our goals that we've tried to achieve is implementing an enterprise service-oriented architecture, which we've managed to maintain and control. We also have service level agreements that keep us aligned with our business objectives. Some of the new opportunities that we've come across is Boyd, bring your own device. Also, how are you going to manage remote devices? So these are some of the new opportunities and challenges that we're studying and trying to overcome. One of the suggestions I would make, instead of treating the mobile work styles as an exception, you really need to design your system and policies assuming that everyone is using multiple mobile devices to get to the information that they need, because that's the where everyone is at right now. Everyone's got like 3 mobile devices that they're using in order to connect to their content, and you've got to be able to manage that as well as secure it as well. So one of the things we've come up with is a joint services organization chart. What I have is I kind of broke it down at a high level. We have an administrative authority and operational authority. So we have a shared business, say records management, that a liaison from a town would be interested in subscribing to. He would connect to the records manager. They would work out what it is their objectives are supposed to be met, and then they can create a joint service level agreement, which would go up to the administrative authority, where the local municipality or the town would have a stakeholder in a committee that works with the executive advisory committee, which is more like the county administration. So they work together on a service model that will work together. And then when the contract is signed, it goes to a shared services department and then comes down and gets trickled down to the operational authority to deploy and manage. Here's a price sheet on what we offer. Most of the time, we for almost $660 a year, I can give you a desktop that we manage and we back up, as well as an annual cost for servers. We also have managed services and professional services, such as here, we putting in a network installation of cabling. What we've done is we've taken an hourly rate based on the title, how many hours, you come up with a price. There's your quote on what it would cost in order to put in a network for this township. So some of the shared service benefits that you can get through the state of New Jersey is there's grant funding for doing joint services. It's amazing what's out there. It's really good. So you have governance through 2 committees, not just one-sided. You have 2-sided committees, because IT shouldn't be in the role of trying to determine this is the way it's going to be. It has to be a 2-way street in order to gain confidence in the product you're trying to deliver. And next is some guidelines to joint services. It's very clear to establish a goal, provide for an existing service, or you're doing a new service. Am I competing with somebody when you're asking me to take that service on? We need to identify everything within a service level agreement that would make it functional. And then last, we have implementing the interlocal services. So these are some of the considerations you have to think about before you actually sign a contract. One of the things are legal consideration, the cost, and how's the public going to react? Maybe a town doesn't want you to work on an off-premise computing environment. Maybe they do. Depending on the public, some people like it and some don't. So you have to assess all your resources before you actually sign a contract. And then last but not least, you really got to have a complaint resolution process. You can't go into a service agreement, put money on the table, and then when there's a problem, you got to have some type of process and have a closure on a problem. So you have to establish a timeline, have a full view, and an investigation process, as well as a resolution process, so you can have a conclusion on a problem on a service agreement. Thank you very much. After you, Lori.
So, thank you, Bill. Bill is very well known in government. He collaborates with the CIO of the state of New Jersey, Steve Emanuel, on initiatives. He's published in numerous publications, and he was the first in county government in New Jersey to do a shared services model. So if anybody knows how to do this, and if you as a college or an organization want to do a shared service model for yourself, he's the one that knows the answers. You can always email him and ask him questions. Okay? Now, one of the services that Bill offers to his towns is virtual desktops. Okay? So besides, let me just see. Are we getting the slides here? All right. We need the. Sorry about that. I got disconnected. Sorry. Are you guys okay there?
Yeah, we're okay. Which
All right. Well. No, this one. 4. All right. So while they're restarting switch, it's okay. So one of the services that Bill offers is virtual desktops. So how many of you here have something called server virtualization in your environment where you virtualize all your servers? Yes? A lot of servers, right? The majority of your servers. Okay, I see a few hands go up. Okay, how many of you have virtualized your desktops, virtual desktops? Yes, 1 person? 2 people? Okay, so less. So obviously, like Bill was saying, one of the shared services benefits is that you save money by virtualizing and offering it to other organizations. Okay, when you do it with servers, it's great. Okay, but once you virtualize your servers, the next step is, okay, so what else can I virtualize? How else can I save money? And that's when you start saying, all right, well, the next logical step is let me virtualize desktops. Okay, so what's a virtual desktop? So for example, you see here, I have a laptop here. All right. Now with my laptop, I have my keyboard here. I have my monitor right here, and I have the brain of the laptop here, okay? And everything is right here. I could do my computing. I mean, it's good because everything is right here, but it's bad because if I were to lose this laptop, I can lose all the data on the laptop, okay? My laptop is not necessarily backed up, so my data could all be lost. With a virtual desktop, what we have here is we have the keyboard here, we have the monitor here, but the brain of the computer is somewhere else. Okay, and that somewhere else could be in your data center for your organization. Okay, that somewhere else could be even in the cloud. And in Bill's case, for example, the environment that I helped him set up initially, the brains of all of his virtual desktops are in his data center in Newton, in Sussex County. And then when somebody in one of the towns that he services gets a virtual desktop, that person has full control of the regular virtual desktop, but when he saves files or he does any processing, all of that is happening in Bill's data center, in a centralized location somewhere else. Okay? So that's what a virtual desktop is. And when you do that, there's certain benefits to doing virtual desktops. Okay? So one of the things that Bill mentioned is there's proliferation of devices. Everybody has iPhones, iPads, and everything. Okay? Now, let's say that your organization, the college, bought an iPad for every student, okay, which happens all the time. So what can you do with the iPad? You can use apps that Apple provides. You can use a bunch of other apps, right? But there's always going to be applications that are not available to use on the iPad. For example, Apple has always said, almost got it. Apple has always said, there we go. Can you, there we go, projector problem solved. Let me just expand. It's okay. Can you try doing it full screen? All right, that's fine. That's fine. So when you try to use all of these devices, you will not have all the applications working on all of these devices. So for example, what you see here is you see the old way of doing things. You had a computer, you had a phone. So you're sitting there in your workplace in college, there's administrators sitting in the college doing this work. Now you have many, many, many different devices, and as you go from a device to device, sometimes your files do not follow, sometimes your applications do not follow, and sometimes you can't use certain Microsoft applications, for example, on some devices because they only support Google, okay? So how do you resolve this issue? We'll talk about it in a second. So in addition, that proliferation of devices is giving your IT department a big headache because people bring in these devices, bring your own device, whatever policy you have, allow it or don't allow it. People still bring their devices, still going to go out on the internet, still going to go out to do and try to do things, okay? When they do things, they're going to have issues, and guess what? They're going to call the IT department and say, hey, you know what? My iPad doesn't work. Can you help me fix it? And whether you have a policy or not, your IT department is going to have to try and fix all of these problems. And therefore, they go to each device and touch each device. So they take time to touch each device. And that, that could be very time-consuming. Okay, and now with so many devices, they have to learn all of these new devices, which is also increases the amount of people you have to hire, increases the headache that the IT department has. Okay. All right. Now, if you do full screen, it'll be good. All right. So that's another problem that IT has. Okay. So how do you resolve both the problem that the IT has in managing all these devices and the problem for you as a user to trying to go from one device to the next device to the next device, keep all your files, and have all the applications available to you, okay? So let's see. Yeah, can we do that full screen now or not? It's not working? Or? All right, that's fine. That's fine. All right. So one of the things that also happens when you have a lot of management headaches is the cost for the administration and the infrastructure goes up. So what I'm showing you here is that for every dollar that you spend on hardware, you're going to spend $3 on managing it. Okay? So one of the solutions is a virtual desktop, okay? So how would your IT processes change when you get a virtual desktop? Okay, how would things change if, let's say, you were to do this for those folks, yourself and you over in the back, that you changed? This is what changed for you, okay? For example, let's say at your school or organization, the PC is loaded with viruses and things like that. It's not working. The user calls up IT department and says, hey, can you come fix my PC? And the tech says, all right, no problem. I'll come fix it in a day or two. Okay? That's good if he does it in a day or two. Sometimes it takes a week for them to come and fix your PC. So how long is it going to take? Okay, so the tech comes in, sits down, tries to troubleshoot a little bit. Then he's like, okay, it doesn't work. Let me redo everything. So he starts popping in CDs. All that whole process, finally he fixes it, is going to take approximately, let's say, 3 hours, right? So how does that process change when you have virtual desktops? Well, when you call in and say, hey, I got a problem with my PC, there's something not working, the technician on the phone tells you, just log off and log back on. And as soon as you log off, what happens is your virtual desktop is destroyed, okay? Now, your data is not destroyed. Your data is still intact. As soon as you log back in, you get a fresh virtual desktop. There's no viruses, no problems. Your data still travels with you, okay? And your issues are solved. How long does that take? 5 minutes, okay? At most, till you from log back in and log back on again. How does the process change for building a new computer, okay? Well, normally you have the IT department receive all the computers and laptops that they bought and say, all right, let me build the operating system on it and put all the applications on it. They start doing that. It's probably going to popping some CDs in, okay? For those of you who have more advanced applications that do that, okay, it might take you 30 minutes to build a new computer up, okay? The computer is built, you send it to the user is happy. How long is that going to take? Probably at least an hour, okay? How long does it take with a virtual desktop? Well, with a virtual desktop, you always start off with using regular PCs to access your virtual desktop from. And I'll show it to you later. But once your regular PC is no longer functioning, it's bad, you throw it out, and you buy something called a thin client. This little box right here, okay? So this little box right here, there's no moving parts, no brains. It's just like the dumb terminal of the mainframe days, right? Its sole purpose is to connect to the virtual desktop. So how long does it take for the user to set up this box on your desk? 10 minutes. They come in, set this up, hook up to a keyboard, monitor, and the speaker, like I have here. And I'll show you in the demo portion. Connect to the virtual desktop, and off you go. It's going to take 10 minutes. Right? No setup, nothing like that. Everything's already set up. What about refresh imaging? So a lot of schools, a lot of organizations, educational institutions, during the year, a lot of their PCs and libraries and everything, no matter how you monitor it, they get loaded up with all kinds of spyware and things. And so a lot of schools decide in the summer, when it quiets down a bit, to erase all of these PCs and reinstall everything on them in mass, okay? So that process is called refresh or imaging. And that process takes a while to do. If you don't have automated tools, it'll take probably an hour per PC to redo all these PCs. If you have some automated tools, it might take you about half an hour per PC, okay? And some organizations, they start in the summer and they never finish. This process happens constantly throughout the year. How does that change with virtual desktops? Well, with virtual desktops, there's no need to do erasing or refreshing, okay? Remember, as soon as the user logs off, the desktop is destroyed. And you get next time it logs in, gets a fresh desktop. So essentially, you get a fresh one every time. And therefore, there's no need to get rid of any problems or viruses because they get destroyed. Okay, so literally, that process is reduced to 10 minutes per hundreds of PCs or virtual desktops. So security, what happens, like I mentioned already, what happens if you take somebody sitting in the accounting office and they take their laptop and they take it home to do some work, which happens all the time. The laptop has a spreadsheet with 900 social security numbers on it. They work on it maybe without permission. They come back and But then one time when they take the laptop, they lose it, okay? Or it gets stolen, okay? What if it gets stolen and you lose it? What are you going to have to do? You're going to have to notify all 900 students that their information has been stolen, provide credit monitoring. How long is it going to take you to resolve the situation? Well, it's days to weeks if you're lucky, okay? How long is it going to take with a virtual desktop? Well, with a virtual desktop, you have a machine that you can give a user. That's called a mobile thin client, okay? For example, here we have Google Chromebook, right? Its sole purpose is to just do one thing, okay? There's no hard drive on it. There's nothing on it. So essentially, give something that looks like a laptop, but is really not a laptop. It's just a dumb terminal to connect to something, okay? In this case, to a virtual desktop. So when a user uses that, when the user is on the road or at home, if the user loses this machine, so what? You give them a new one. No data is lost because all the data is in a centralized location, backed up and secure. So there's no issue with social security numbers or anything like that. Somebody steals it, so what? There's always the famous case where these things got stolen and then the thief had to return them because they thought it was a laptop, but it's not a laptop. They can do nothing with it, okay? So your security improves tremendously for anybody taking stuff out of the office, because they never take stuff out of the office. It's always inside your data center. So lab repurposing. What happens if you have a Photoshop lab and one day the teacher calls you, right, and says, look, you know what? We're switching departments, and I want to convert this Photoshop lab into a math lab. Can you guys do that for me? Okay, let's just take one lab, 30 computers. So technician comes in, reinstalls some software, okay, does all 30 PCs. Usually it's going to take about a week to do that. Right? How does that change with virtual desktops? Well, with virtual desktops, when the teacher calls and says, hey, can you make this lab a math lab instead? Technician just goes in, does 5 clicks, and now says, okay, everybody that's on the computers in the lab, tell them to log off and log back on. When they log back on, the computers now have switched to becoming a math lab computers with the math software already installed, with everything configured, and now you have just converted this lab in a matter of 5 minutes from Adobe Photoshop to a math lab. Okay? And you could do that with multiple labs, and it takes you minutes to do that. So the flexibility of doing that is tremendous. Finally, what happens is there's a disaster. Okay? How do you deal with a disaster and you have virtual desktops? And my friend Bill Kosin is gonna talk about a disaster that he had and how he resolved the situation with virtual desktops.
Thank you. I actually have had 2 disasters. My most recent disaster was we have a building called Cochrane House, and they were putting a new roof on. And when they were putting a new roof on, part of the roof collapsed, and they had to evacuate the building because of all the dust. And then when they started retarring the roof after they did it had off-gassing. So they had to evacuate the entire building. So that was my tax board, my election board, and the county clerk. So what we wound up doing is we relocated people. We relocated the county clerk. We took them up to emergency management. We put some of them in the library because the room wasn't big enough to hold all the staffing. And since they were on a virtual desktop, we were able to push their desktop out so they can maintain business. And then through public relations, we gave notification, hey, if you're going to record your deed or if you need some public assistance programs, these are the buildings you had to go to get your service. And that's one of the reasons that we went with virtual desktop. The second one is we were actually virtualized when Sandy hit. So we were able to have operations maintained because our data center is on a generator. And we were able to either get it on our dark fiber or over the cell phone network. So everyone was able to connect to one another and get to their finances and cut the purchase orders and buy all the stuff that they needed in order to clear all the debris that Sandy put in place. There we go.
There we go. So that's how easy it is to use virtual desktop for GR purposes. One of the funny things that I heard lately, couple months ago, is there was a news out of Pennsylvania that K through 12 districts, like one or two K through 12 districts in Pennsylvania, want to make their students work during snow days. Okay, which if I was a student, I wouldn't like that. Sorry, But they're doing that. So how do you do that? Well, the only way to do this is with virtual desktops. Because when a student goes home, they can use any computer, any device out there, iPad, PC, Mac, to access a virtual desktop that's located centrally in their school and do any work that's necessary. Okay? So something for you to consider. So why is it that, those of you who have heard of virtual desktops probably heard of them for the past 10 years. Okay? They've always been out there late, and why is it that this year, suddenly, for example, we in our consulting practice get 10 times as much customers as in the last 10 years? What happened suddenly? Well, 2 things happened. One is virtual desktops need powerful storage on the back end, okay? And we had a change in storage lately. We have now we went from mechanical to electronic disks. Electronic disks called SSDs or flash, okay? And the price of these electronic disks have gone down from like April 2011 here to $1.70 per gigabyte to literally in 1 year to 70 cents per gigabyte, and it keeps falling. So now these electronic disks are very, very fast, okay, which is great for virtual desktops. They're very affordable, and everybody's buying them. That's the future. If you buy a laptop nowadays, most likely, you have an SSD or flash drive in there already, okay, and it's running really fast. So that's one of the reasons why now this is cheaper, and you can use this for virtual desktops. Another reason is every computer, physical computer that you buy out there, has an additional graphics chip that helps you process graphics, okay? Now, in the virtual desktop world, you could process graphics no problem, but there was no hardware that did some acceleration, help processing graphics, right? There was no hardware until this year, okay? For the past year, we had a graphics from NVIDIA available, that actual hardware graphics card that you can use with virtual desktops and accelerate the graphics on all your virtual desktops. So how does that help you? Well, for example, here, you see on the left, if you were running Google Earth without graphics acceleration, right? You know, it works, but when you try to start zooming into 3D objects, you get this gray screen, okay? Now, with graphics acceleration available, the Google Earth works just like on the physical desktop, no problem. So essentially, because of the SSD prices coming down and because of 3D acceleration available, at this point I can do anything in virtual desktops that I can do in the physical desktops and more. Okay, so there's no more limits at all. So what do you need to access virtual desktops? Okay, and what do you need to build this infrastructure? So we at CDI use VMware products and to build the software side of it. We use the Cisco products for servers, and we use EMC products for storage. Okay, one of probably the most popular EMC storage products is the all-flash storage array called Extreme IO. Again, that storage box has just electronic disks, so it's very, very fast. It's great for virtual desktops. It's probably our most popular solution nowadays is to use that Extreme IO box for virtual desktops. Okay, but you can use other storage from EMC also. So then you say, all right, well, you told me that in order to do this, I have to buy a bunch of hardware. Yes, you do. But how do I pay for this? Okay. Well, here's a simple formula. I had a couple more slides on more advanced formulas, but really we need to do the demo here. So here's a simple formula. Okay. An average PC in 2011 was $552. Okay. And let's say your college was buying 1,000 PCs. Normally, every 3 years or 5 years, you refresh all the PCs anyway, so you buy them all. Let's say you needed to buy 1,000 PCs. So you would need to spend $552,000 to buy all those PCs. What you can do instead is you don't buy new PCs. You stay with your old PCs, okay? And instead, you invest this money into the virtual desktop infrastructure. And then you'll be able to have the benefits of virtual desktops, complete mobility, your IT department headaches go away. And in addition, you still have your old PCs there. You use them as these dumb terminals to access virtual desktops, okay? Like these guys right here, like the laptops right here. When they die and are out of warranty, you throw them out and you buy these dumb terminals or called thin clients, okay? And at that point, you'll be fully on virtual desktop infrastructure. So that's how you could pay for this, okay? So let me show you the demos now, okay? Myself and Bill are going to show you some demos, and then we'll just conclude with the description of CDI and question and answer, okay? So the first thing we're going to do is, let's switch to my laptop, please. All right, excellent.
Don't have me near it.
Excellent. All right. So let's say I'm on the Macintosh right here. This is a Macintosh laptop. So let's say that Macintosh is one of the labs in your college is a Mac lab, and you want to let people access their Windows virtual desktop. So all a Mac user has to do, okay, is pull up something called VMware Horizon Client, right, which is an application that allows you to do this. And then clicks here, all right, puts in the username and the password. And notice what just happened is I just logged into my Windows virtual desktop, and I'm on a Macintosh computer. So I have here a Windows 7 virtual desktop that is essentially, full-blown Windows. There's no difference between that and a physical, and Windows running on a physical desktop. And for example, I'm going to open up Microsoft Word, and I'm going to type, okay? So it's just like on a regular desktop. And here I can open up Microsoft Outlook. All right, so all the Microsoft applications are available just like on a regular Windows PC. Now let's say I have an educational application here, right? That's used in schools often. Well, I deleted my shortcut here, so that's okay. Let me just see this here. All right, so anyway, you can open up an educational application here. It's basically a full-blown PC, and you can do whatever you want with it, okay? However, you say, all right, well, give me a proof. Is it really working like a virtual desktop? Are you just blowing smoke or something, or what? What's going on here, okay? Give me some proof. Well, one of the biggest things that you can do is you could play video in the virtual desktop, right? Video is important because when you play video, you're taxing your laptop, okay? It's one of the most taxing things you can do. And if you do video in full screen, you're taxing your laptop the most, okay? So essentially, if you want to see, is the performance of the virtual desktop the same as the regular desktop? You want to play video, okay? So how about this? There's a video included in each Windows, high definition video. I've seen it hundreds of times now. I know every frame by heart, okay? So there we go. It looks a little dark because of the projector, but just watch on the frames. Is there any choppiness? Is there anything going on? Now remember, this video is not playing on my machine here. This is on my virtual desktop. Okay, somewhere out there. So this is a high definition video playing almost full screen. And as you saw, there's no choppiness at all. It works just like on a regular machine. So this is the experience that you get when you are on a virtual desktop inside your organization. Okay, you come to work, you log into your thin client, and off you go on the virtual desktop. Okay, so how about this? Let's say you were in that Mac lab, and then suddenly, you finish working, and you go, all right, you know what? Let me work on a Word document a little bit here. All right, let me just work on the Word document, and then I want to kind of step away, and I want to get some coffee, and then I'm walking to a different lab. Okay, and now that lab no longer has Macs. It has thin clients. Okay, because you already threw away the old PCs, right? And now you got thin clients. So you're like, all right, you know what? I want to continue where I left off. Continue working where I left off. So let me do that. Okay. So here's the thin client. We're going to switch the projector now. Thank you. To the thin client. All right. So the thin client, remember, this has no operating system. There's no brains. When you turn it on, that's all you see. Okay? It says, enter the address that you want to connect to. Okay? I hit connect. It's asking me for a username and the password. Okay? And I'm going to enter that in. And hit enter. And here it gives me a choice of a virtual desktop. One of the things you can do is, let's say there's a student out there that required access to both Photoshop lab and a math lab. So when that student is anywhere, he will have a choice of a desktop, a Photoshop desktop or a math desktop, okay? For those of you in the K through 12 districts that are doing park testing, you can have a desktop that does just nothing but park testing. And students can do the park testing. When they're done, you could switch all their computers immediately to something else. So here we go. I'm connecting to my virtual desktop. And the projector is adjusting to this. Notice wherever I left off, that was my original session on my Mac here. Wherever I've left off, my document is exactly where I ended up. Okay, so wherever you leave, you can come back to it any time and from any device. Yeah, so here it is. It's the same machine. Now your virtual desktop, follows you around. Okay, why is that good? Because let's say you couldn't see it here because we switched the projector, but as soon as I logged into this one, it kicked me out of my session here on the Mac. That's good because if you work on the Mac and you forgot about it and you left it, you don't want anybody else using your credentials and using your machine. So you want the desktop to constantly follow you around. Okay. So here we go. It's the same. It's the same desktop, and if I want to, I can do a video full screen. Again, this is a different access device that we're using. And yet, it doesn't matter. The video plays the same quality, okay? It's a little bit lighter because, like I said, the projector is adjusting to different things. But in your environment, on your monitor that you have in front of you, it's always gonna look the same, okay? Okay. So that's two devices that you can access virtual desktops, okay? Hold on, let me wake it up. So a lot of the environments out there bought many Google Chromebooks in the education space. And what we see often is, all right, you bought a bunch of Chromebooks, and you're like, all right, well, what can I use them for? Well, I can use them to get onto use Google applications. Can I use them for something else? No, you can't. It's a dumb device. Its sole purpose is to just get into Google, okay? But with virtual desktops, you can now use these cheap devices and get access to your full-blown Microsoft Windows virtual desktop out there in your data center. All right, and Bill is going to show this. Now, the difference between this is what you've seen so far from a Mac connection and a thin client connection is this is the experience that you're going to get when you're inside your environment. Now, when you as a user go home, okay, and you want to access your machine remotely. Let's say you take your Chromebook home, and now you want to access your virtual desktop from that Chromebook from your house. You can do that, no problem, right? You need a fast connection. You rely on that connection. But essentially what Bill is doing here is he's logging into his Sussex County virtual desktop environment that's located in Newton, New Jersey right now. So the brains are in Newton, New Jersey. And he's doing that through the Chromebook, okay? And one other interesting thing about this is that there's a client to access this virtual desktop for any device out there, for Mac, for PC, for your iPad, for your Android phone, any tablet out there. But on the Chromebook, there's just the browser, so there's no client. One of the things you can do is you can connect to your virtual desktop from any browser out there. So what you see in here is this is a Chromebook connecting to the virtual desktop that's in Newton, New Jersey. But you can also use this browser. Let's say you go to a friend's PC, and he doesn't have a virtual desktop client. That's fine. You go to his browser, connect, and you'll be able to connect into a virtual desktop from any browser and use the full virtual desktop in the browser. Okay? There we go. Okay? This is a Chrome browser on a Chromebook. And you have full-blown Windows.
HTML5.
Yes, go ahead.
There is no agent here whatsoever. You're just using a standard web browser, and we're pushing out HTML5 as a desktop. So it's very device independent. There we go.
Okay. And now, that we connected, which for wires.
Yeah, you got to watch where you walk.
Now that we connected there, let me show the iPad here, and then we'll go for this. So let's say you you have an iPad at home, and now you worked on your virtual desktop, and you go to your couch, and now you want to access your virtual desktop from your iPad, from your couch. Okay. So essentially, you pull out your iPad. We don't have it displayed on the screen here, but I'll show you something. I'll show it to you. So you pull it out, and you start up a VMware client, okay? Right there. And if you already connected to it before, it's going to say, would you like to reconnect? Okay, and that's what it's asking me. I'm reconnecting. Okay, I'm going to type in my password again. And there we go. I'm logging into my virtual desktop. There we go. Okay, now that's the same one that I connected to earlier. Let me have the volume up. And just to show you again, I'm going to play an animal video on this guy here, right here. Yeah. There we go. Kind of hard to hear. It's a very small speaker. But essentially, same exact quality as every other device out there. Okay? So you can access virtual desktop from anything, and yet you get full-blown video, full everything, exact same experience as on the physical desktop. And sometimes what happens is, if a user has an older PC, with 512 megabytes of RAM, and the user is suffering, they're like, wow, you know what, I hate this PC, it's been there so long. And this has actually happened. This actually happened at Bill's environment when I was helping him set this up, right? There was one lady that had a really old PC, and I switched it to virtual desktop, and she used it as a dumb terminal to log into virtual desktop, and she said, oh my God, my experience is so much better. Why is that? Well, because now the brains is somewhere out there, and the brain in Bill's data center is way, way more powerful than some dinky PC that she's on, okay? And yet, you don't have to change her PC. She's using the same PC, but she now gets much more performance, okay? So anyway, so that's the iPad. And let's switch to the presentation one. It's number 4. So now Bill, again, is going to connect to his environment in Newton, New Jersey. All right. In Newton, New Jersey, he has the client open. And he's going to show you something unique for those of you who are more technical. All right. Now this is a Windows login in, but notice this looks kind of weird, right? This is not exactly the same Windows 8.
Yeah.
So Bill, what Windows is it?
This is Windows 10. We're getting ready for deployment. We were in a test pilot with Microsoft on the technical preview on Windows 10, so we created a Windows 10 pool and thought we'd experiment and try it. One of the things we do here is we get new employees all the time with our employee turnover. We have instructional videos on how to run stuff, so I thought maybe I'd demo that. One is we have a fax server, and usually, hey, how do I use the fax? Well, click on your icon, and the tutorial will start, and then you learn how to use it.
To get started with FaxCore, the first thing you have to do is log in.
So this is
you
working
can start your
remotely
favorite
in my
browser.
data center in Newton, New Jersey.
Internet Explorer, Firefox, Safari, and Chrome.
So yeah,
in this case, I'm going to use Internet Explorer 7.
The user will get from their house.
Then you need to go to the web address, which is provided to you by your IT department. To get to the FaxCore server, chances are pretty good it's going to be FaxCore. So we will now log in using our same credentials that we use when we log into our...
So we also have Word we use, so we can load up a Word. Word starts up, and you get your document you were working on. Here's one of my docs. So this is one of the docs we were working on. This is my shared service in a white paper that's on the Sussex County website. Also, if you want to go on the internet, you're allowed to go on the internet. I even bookmarked a YouTube video if you want to watch YouTube.
And now double pumping up with Hans and
Now, this is
Franz.
going over
We're
the
here to
internet.
double pump.
Okay? So
You
we
are
at
on
the
internet.
connection.
All right,
Yeah.
all right. Now
Speed.
pumping up your social news feed with a cell.
So if your internet obviously is slower at your house, it's going to be slower. But if it's fast, then it's going to get the same exact experience as you're getting in the office.
So this is Weird Al Yankovic, if you're familiar with that. It's kind of like a generational thing.
Yeah, so
that, I
very appropriate video for colleges is the words, was it grammar video, there you go. Now just look at the quality. Remember, the brains are in
My data center,
Bill's data center in Newton,
public
New Jersey.
Wi-Fi access. Push it out, and this is how I push it out to the towns, mobile devices. This is the way it's worked.
Now, Windows 10 right now is not supported yet, right? It does work. Bill tried it, but we're just showing it to show you that we pretty much can do any bleeding edge technology that works on the desktop. You can put it onto virtual desktop. Okay. So let's switch to the final slide, please. Let's see. That was the 4, right? All righty then. And all right, so essentially, Bill and I are collaborating. My company CDI has been in business 19 years, and one of the things that we do is virtual desktops. Okay, I design and implement virtual desktops, which is what I did for Bill. This is some of our clients that we have. Of course, Sussex County logo. I'm sure some of you here maybe our clients. We have a range of clients from really large commercials like Bank of America, Avon, MetLife. But we also have a dedicated government and education department. Okay, not every reseller out there, integrator, has a dedicated department. Yes. So that's one of the unique things about us. We have a dedicated account manager sitting in the back, Christian DeStasio, that understands colleges. We also have a dedicated person who does municipalities and schools. We also have dedicated engineers that do nothing but government and education. Okay, our team, a lot of our team has lots of experience in that. Okay, so that's one of the things unique about us. Okay. Another thing unique about CDI as a company, it's owned by two people, Eric Baker and Trish Baker, his wife. It's private. It's a very homely company. Employees love it. I've been there for about 1.5 years, and this may sound cheesy, but the company really shows that it cares about the employees. For example, one of the things we do, which is extremely rare, nobody does that anymore, is the company has a company trip for the whole company once a year. Okay, everybody goes. Even you could bring your wife. It's all paid for. And because Eric Baker is a very generous man, this is one of the things that CDI does for us. So we really enjoy working for the company, and we bring that enjoyment to you when we build solutions like this. Okay, we get a lot of cool toys and things to show you that will help you in your enterprise. Okay, so let's see. This is the contact information. We have my business card over there on the last table. Okay. There's also a copy of my book. Those of you who are technical, or if you have a technical person, you can take that to them, and they'll probably enjoy this book. You can contact Christian's email right here also. If you have questions for Bill, how he did shared services at Sussex County, there's Bill's email right there. I have also a blog on cdillc.com called cloud-giraffe. Right? You can contact us on LinkedIn. We also have a Twitter. I also have a Twitter account, Yuri Megalith, and also we have the CDI LLC Twitter accounts, and of course our email and YouTube addresses. Okay, we do have quite a bit of videos on CDI LLC about different technologies, and on my YouTube, I have a few videos. One of the videos is very unique. About a couple of months ago, I was flying to a conference presentation. And I noticed that there was a Wi-Fi sign on the plane, which I never tried plane Wi-Fi. So I decided, all right, let's give it a shot. So I tried connecting to the plane Wi-Fi. The next thought in my mind was, I got to try my virtual desktop at Teterboro, New Jersey. So I connected to virtual desktop. I filmed it, right? I started filming it on my laptop. There were people looking at me funny, talking to myself, but that's OK. So I connected to my virtual desktop in Teterboro, New Jersey from 34,000 feet. I wanted to see what's the performance like, right, at satellite connection. And I expected it to be very bad. So for those of you who are technical, my connection was anywhere from 2 to 6 megabit connection. And also, I got a latency of from 600 to 900 milliseconds. The signal went up to satellite, down to Earth, through Earth, all the way to Teterboro, New Jersey, and back. Okay, so it was a long time to travel, using the speed of light. So the numbers were really bad. It was really supposed to be slow. But when I accessed my virtual desktop, okay, I could work. I couldn't play videos, but I could type Word documents. Okay, there was a very small delay. I could do my work on the plane at 34,000 feet. So the moral of that is, if you can use a virtual desktop at 34,000 feet doing your work, pretty much any connection that's earthbound connection is fine. And we do have lots of clients who have virtual desktops actually located in New York City, but they have, say, developers out in Ukraine, in London, and they want to give them access across the pond. That works well, no problem. Okay? So that video for the plane, virtual desktop on a plane is on YouTube. That's it? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.